Hi everyone, hope you're having a lovely Thursday. The weather has gotten a lot cooler here after our heat wave, so we're just readjusting to the different temperatures. And I've had a really beautiful morning, to be honest. I was feeling a little bit tired actually this morning, so I just went a little bit easy on myself. Give myself plenty of time to get ready. Generally in the mornings I have a very kind of nurturing routine which I stick to, which normally involves some sort of meditation, breath work, sound healing, whatever I feel I need in the morning, and then I'll spend time getting myself ready, getting my home ready before I'm ready to share my energy with other people. And that's something that I have learned to do over the years. I think that we are conditioned to get up out of bed, quickly get ready, straight out into the world, and just, give our energy away without actually, building up our energy within ourselves first. And it's very important. So I've given the topic for this video, which is all about relationships, balance, masculine and feminine energy, codependency and narcissism, and all of these issues that affect our relationships. I'm going to dive into that in just a minute or two, but I'm just going to give people a chance to come on to the video, because this is a subject that affects everybody. As far as I can see in the world, I can see already quite a lot of people are joining in because it's a very important topic. So we'll dive into it in a wee moment. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about a beautiful self-healing session that I just did on myself. As I said, I was feeling a little bit tired this morning, and I did a beautiful healing session on myself there. I just lay on the bed, and it was a combination of meditation, sound healing and crystals. So I was using my beautiful, one of my favourite sound healing tools, which is this set of sacred solfeggio tuning forks, and I absolutely love these. Absolutely love them. It's such a gentle, pure form of sound healing. The solfeggio frequencies are also known as the miracle frequencies, and if you've ever heard these, you will know why they're called that. The Gregorian chant and all of that is based around this solfeggio scale, and it's a very healing scale of music. And then along with the tuning forks, the tuning forks work through each of the chakras. And then I had my little bag of my favourite crystals. I'll just show you, this is just for fun. We're going to get into the main topic in a moment. I'm just going to show you what crystals are in my bag. I have some hematite for working with the Earth Star chakra. I have some red jasper for working with my root chakra. I have tiger's eye, which I love, for working with my sacral chakra. Citrine for my solar plexus. Rose quartz for my heart chakra. Lapis lazuli for my throat chakra. Some amethyst for working with the third eye. Where is my clear quartz has gone missing. Must be still over on the bed. And then I have white howlite for working with the soul star chakra. So just a little bit of interest. I'm going to put up a little offer on the page later on today, offering you the same treatment that I just did on myself. For anyone who lives locally and would like to try it out, it is just so beautiful, so gentle, but yet so powerful. And we can also combine some aromatherapy with that, so it's a really multi-sensory experience with the sound and the crystals and the aromatherapy. And I'll get you to do some visualizations and affirmations and everything as well. It's just so beautiful. I love multi-modality healing. Okay, so we're going to get into the subject. If you don't mind, I'm just going to set these aside. We're going to get into the subject of the video, which I put up on my post about 20 minutes ago, half an hour ago, and it is about relationships. And this is a subject that is very dear to my heart. This is something we all have experience in it, really, because we all have experience of relationships. But like many people, I have had a very difficult experience of a very painful marriage breakup in my life. And after this happened in my life, I made it my business to really study relationship dynamics so that I could understand what went wrong and I could avoid making the same mistakes in the future. So I can see people are reacting. If this is resonating with you, I assume it is because that's why you've joined in the video. Feel free to comment and let me know how this resonates with you. And you don't have to share your personal experiences, but just a few words to help other people feel that they are not alone in their experiences. And I know from talking to many people that we're not alone in our experiences, because almost everybody has relationship issues, because we don't live in a perfect world and men and women are not perfect, and we very much are still dealing with the ego in this world and overcoming it. And it's only really when we overcome the ego that we can have healthy relationships. So this summer I have been piloting a relationship course locally with some local women that I've developed over the years, and it's been a really interesting experience. And I intend to start making this course available online in the not too distant future. So if you're interested, let me know, and I'll maybe put you on a list for that and let you know, or just keep an eye on my page. And I intend to run it as maybe like in a Facebook live group where I can go on and do a live video once a week and give you resources and that to go off and do your own study and just to have a conversation and go through many different areas. So this video was really triggered by a few different shows that I've been watching recently. I know we shouldn't be watching TV, but I often do like to get sort of, I do indulge in a little bit of escapism, and I'm quite mindful of what I watch if I do watch TV. And I tend to be drawn to specific types of shows, and relationship shows are a favourite of mine. So we have been watching a funny little show, a quirky little show on Netflix recently called Mythomaniac. It's a French, like a dark French romantic comedy. It's all subtitles, so you have to have a bit of patience if you're going to watch it. But it has been very entertaining. And I could identify with the story and with the dynamics and with the characters in the show. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story of this show that we've been watching. So it starts off with this French family, a couple in their 40s, Elvira and Patrick, and they have 3 kind of teenage sort of age children. And Elvira is a downtrodden woman. Her life revolves around, she goes to work, she goes to a job that she doesn't enjoy, and she works all day, and she's got an abusive boss. And she comes home and she makes dinner for her kids, and she does the washing, and she looks after the house, and nobody really appreciates her, and you know, she doesn't really take care of herself. And her husband Patrick, he is a photographer, and he is very much self-obsessed, self-absorbed, completely absorbed in his career. And you know, he plays this role of this charismatic artist within the community, and he has this community of adoring followers around him, hanging on his every word. And of course, he's having an extramarital affair. So it really starts with Elvira realizing that her husband is having an affair, and this kickstarts a series of events. It's very funny. It's very sad at times, but it is very funny. I find the whole thing very amusing to watch. What she does is it's like Munchausen's. She invents a medical condition, and she convinces her family that she's ill because accidentally it sort of comes out this way, and when people think that she's ill, they all start treating her differently, and suddenly everybody's appreciating her, and of course one lie leads to another, it all gets out of hand. But the whole situation collapses, as of course it has to do. The marriage is dysfunctional, the family's dysfunctional, and dysfunctional situations cannot be maintained long term. And unfortunately, many of our relationships, and many of us have found ourselves within dysfunctional relationships. And I just want to talk about a little bit more about the dynamics involved in that, and what I've come to understand over the years about masculine and feminine energy and relationship dynamics, and what creates healthy relationships and what creates dysfunctional relationships. So let's just think about the terms narcissism and codependency. These have been very big buzzwords over the past number of years within the psychological community, anybody who's interested in psychology, relationships, all of this. We can be oversimplifying things a little bit, but it's one of the elements that contributes to breakdowns. In fact, probably a huge element that leads to the breakdown of many relationships in our modern day society. So narcissism, just to be very sort of succinct about it, is really somebody who's it's being very self-obsessed, being very, very selfish, lacking empathy. All of your energy and attention is on yourself and your own issues and your own needs, and you're completely oblivious to the needs of the people around you. So you behave in very selfish ways that can be very harmful to other people, because essentially you're really stealing energy from others and not really giving anything of any value back in return. So codependency, on the other hand, is really a condition where you put everybody else's needs in front of your own. So it's the opposite, the polar opposite. It's sort of characterised by this people-pleasing, obsession with people-pleasing behaviour, because it normally emanates from a very low sense of self-worth and self-esteem, whereas the narcissism can be an indication of an overinflated ego or an overinflated sense of self-worth or self-importance. So of course society has conditioned us to be this way, and in general men tend to be more on the narcissistic side and women more on the codependent side. Now that is not absolute. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes you have men who are the codependent one in the relationship, and the woman could be narcissistic. It all depends on your upbringing. But I have noticed, my observation is, in general, the general trend in society is, of course, we've all been conditioned to believe over many generations, hopefully coming out of it now, that men are superior to women. So men have grown up with this overinflated sense of self-importance in comparison with the feminine, and women have often grown up with this sense of inferiority. And this leads women into more sort of codependent, people-pleasing behaviour, and it often leads men into more of the narcissistic, self-absorbed, self-important, selfish behaviour. Again, I'm saying that this is not always the case. I don't want anybody attacking me and saying that's completely untrue. I know loads of narcissistic women, and there are, and I know some really nice men, but who are codependent and who have been in abusive relationships. I know that happens. I'm just talking in general terms, and I'm just talking about these general sort of energy dynamics. So let me know if this is resonating with you. So let's get back to the story of Elvira and Patrick in the show. So what happens is the marriage breaks down, of course, and Elvira, because she becomes the scapegoat of the family, which often happens within these dysfunctional families. There has to be a scapegoat, somebody who's blamed for all the problems in the family. So even though it really wasn't Elvira's fault at the start, she was only one part of a dysfunctional system, and her partner, her husband, but he wasn't her husband at this stage, just her partner, he was a big part of this dysfunctional dynamic. And even the children, they were all playing their roles as well. One of them was also very narcissistic like her father and very abusive towards the mother. The other two were very sweet. So the marriage falls apart, the family falls apart, and Elvira is blamed, and she's scapegoated, and she's cast out of the family. And I've had this experience myself, so I know exactly how it feels. Everybody turned on her. It was all her fault, because she was the one then who came out and talked about everything that was wrong within the family, within the relationship. She laid her cards on the table and she said, yes, I did tell these lies, and I'm sorry, I told the lies. This is why, because I felt so unappreciated, and everybody ignored me, and you know, everybody was absorbed in their own lives and there was no sense of family. Nobody cared about each other. You're also self-absorbed in your own lives that, you know, you forgot to be a family, you forgot to think about others and blah, blah. Of course, they didn't want to hear this. So, you know, they booted her out of the family. And now Patrick is left to look after the kids on his own. So this is very interesting, and this makes me think of the universal law of polarity, which states really that we will experience all things from two polar opposite angles over the course of our life or over the course of many lifetimes, in order that we can then become balanced human beings. So this is why it's said that we can incarnate as women, we can incarnate as men in different lifetimes. And this is all in order so that we can balance our energy, the energy of the masculine and the feminine, so that we can become whole. So in the story, Patrick, he's left with these children to look after. And of course, he's blamed Elvira on everything. But of course, he's completely unable to manage looking after a household and 3 children on his own. And he slips into this period of complete and utter, again, self-absorption, self-pity. He also slips completely into his feminine energy. Everybody's mulling around looking after him. The neighbours are all pitching in, cooking meals, cleaning the house. The children are all doing their bit, but everything's falling apart. And then he actually attracts another woman into his life, but because he's in this completely helpless energy, this real feminine energy where he's just like helplessly sitting back doing nothing, he attracts this super masculine, very controlling woman into his life, and she's completely different to Elvira. And she starts to control everything, and she starts to control him, and she really keeps him on his toes, and he sort of perks up a little bit and gets his act together, but he doesn't like this controllingness. And I think bit by bit, as things go on, he starts to realise then the work that's involved, because, you know, he's responsible for the kids. And he starts to appreciate now a little bit more about what, you know, what his wife's life has been like. He has to take on her responsibilities. He's starting to develop maybe a little bit more empathy for her situation. And also he's starting to see that life is not necessarily greener on the other side, because these other extramarital relationships that he's having outside of his relationship with Elvira, they don't work out very well either. So there are problems in those relationships. So he starts to realise that nobody's perfect, including himself, and this then starts to help him to see Elvira in a completely different light. On the flip side of things, Elvira is now kind of has a little bit more freedom to herself. She is able to concentrate a little bit more on herself, on her own self-care, on her career, getting back her own sense of self-worth. She starts to realise that she has other admirers and she has other options. And again, this starts to boost her self-esteem and her self-worth. And she becomes a more balanced person as well. Less codependent and less needy and less prone to people-pleasing. So it's just come to the end of the second series where this turnaround is starting to happen, and you can see the change in both people as they have separated from each other and gone on their separate journeys and evolved and become more balanced, and they're starting to come back together now with a new appreciation for each other as these new, more evolved, mature, whole, balanced people. And you're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel, that there may be a potential for a reunion and a more healthy relationship, whether they reunite with each other and have that healthy relationship together, or they go off and find now new partners that are reflecting back to them their new energy. So this really makes me think of the whole twin flame journey that's been very, very popular in spiritual, especially New Age spiritual circles in recent years. And whether or not you believe in that, you can certainly, you know, if you read the information about it, it all resonates very much with me. It was very much evident in this show that we were watching. And it also really connects with the whole idea of this evolution from 3D consciousness to 5D consciousness, because at the 3D level, you know, when we're stuck at this level of the ego and this very dense level of consciousness and vibration, we tend to have these 3D relationships, which are very much ego-based, dysfunctional. And then this leads us to the breakdown. And this can be also seen just in what's happening in society at large. So the breakdown happens then, the chaos comes in. This is the 4D level. So where we have the chaos, where the 3D isn't working anymore, it's dysfunctional. It has to fall apart in order to evolve to the next stage. So the 4D level is this chaos that happens in between. And then 5D is then when we evolve now to the new stage, the new state of being, the new state of consciousness, where we have sort of surpassed or outgrown the egoic, immature ways of being in the world. We've gone through the chaos, we've navigated the chaos, we've learned our lessons, we've evolved, and we now have a higher perspective, a more balanced perspective, balancing the masculine and the feminine energies. And that brings us into this 5D level of consciousness, where now we can have functional, conscious relationships with each other, and relate to each other in a healthy, functional way. I'm going to show you a symbol that we are all very familiar with. This is the yin yang symbol. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about this, my own interpretation of it, and also how it relates to what I've been discussing in this video. So how I see it is the white represents the masculine energy. If you read my post earlier on my page, I was talking about the electromagnetic energy that we all possess, and the masculine energy is the electrical force. The feminine, the black, is the magnetic force. So if you think of the womb and the cosmic womb and the darkness of space being the feminine, this dark space, this void into which then the masculine light enters and permeates and fertilizes. So this is, the ideal. This is life. This is balanced life in perfect balance. So you have the masculine and feminine in equal proportion, first of all. So we notice that they are both equal. They're sort of merging into each other. They're not separate. They're fluid. They're flowing into each other. And also you'll see that the feminine has an element of the masculine, and the masculine has an element of the feminine. And this is because of, again, the law of resonance. So in order for two things to be attracted to each other, there has to be a level of both resonance and polarity. So the resonance is that which you have in common with the other. So the masculine has some aspects of the feminine, some appreciation of the feminine, is embodying some of the feminine. The feminine must have some appreciation for the masculine, must be able to embody some of the masculine in order for them to feel any resonance with each other. If it was just completely black and completely white, there would be no resonance. The two would not be able to come together because they wouldn't be able to find any common ground at all. And then there's the law of then the polarity within the relationship. So this attraction of opposites. So the saying, there are two sayings being opposites attract and like attracts like. Well, both are true to a certain extent. Both have a level of truth. So this to me is what the yin yang represents. And this to me is how, if we understand this symbol, the symbolism here, this is the key to us being able to have healthy relationships between the masculine and the feminine. This is also about balancing the masculine and feminine within ourselves. But this is about the masculine and feminine appreciating and respecting our differences and our similarities, our different roles. So the masculine and feminine are very different but equal. And this is where feminism really maybe started to get it wrong, where it was more a case of women trying to pretend they were like men in order to get equality. They became like men. They stepped more into their masculine energy to become like men in order to be regarded as equal. That's not really it. Masculine and feminine are very different, have very different qualities, and both are needed in order to achieve balance. But they're both equal. They're both equally important. The role of the masculine and the role of the feminine are equally important. And whenever we start to recognize the value of both roles, when the feminine can truly appreciate the masculine and the masculine can truly appreciate the feminine and allow each other to be in their natural state, that's when we start to have harmonious relationships, both with ourselves and with our counterparts. So to me, that is the evolution of relationships and how relationships are evolving. And I feel that we're very much moving into the chaotic stage, because I see a lot of relationships breaking down. Really, this is probably one of the first generations where the relationships have really started to break down, and we're in this chaos. But the chaos is necessary, just as I described the story of the show of Elvira and Patrick. If you're only joining the video now, you might want to go back and watch from the start so you can hear the whole story. This really, to me, was telling the story of the evolution of relationships from 3D unconscious relationships, ego-based relationships, to 5D evolved, healthy, functional relationships. So I think that's really all I wanted to say about this. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments below if this resonated with you. If you are interested in doing this course with me at some stage, as I said, I'm going to make it available online because it just makes more sense for me to deliver some of these courses online so that I can connect with a lot more people. I intend to set up a Facebook group, so when you join the group, you join the course, you sign up to the course, and you pay whatever fee we decide is right, and we will have an online group, and we will discuss these topics in depth on a weekly basis. So let me know if you're interested. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back again soon.